In a small rural village in West Africa, where red earth remembered every footprint and the wind carried stories faster than drums, there stood a compound no one admired. 3 small houses, mud brick walls shaped by hand, roofs of dry grass tied together with patience. This was the home of Bashir, a palm wine tapper, and his wife Zahra. People passed the compound and laughed quietly. A goat that lives in a poor man's house must learn to sleep hungry. But Bashir and Zahra did not argue with words. They argued with how they raised their children. Every day began before the world remembered light. At 3 in the morning, when even the owls were still deciding whether to sleep or to watch, Bashir rose from his mat. One of his sons rose with him, Asong, Ade, or Toby. They rotated by week. With ropes across their shoulders and calabashes in hand, they walked into the palm forest. The palm trees stood tall, patient, ancient. Bashir climbed, not only to tap palm wine, but to teach his sons how to respect what feeds you. Do not wound the tree that feeds you. The earth is not a gift from our parents, it is a loan from our children. By 5 in the morning, the vehicle arrived to carry the palm wine to the city. No matter how long the night, the morning will surely come. Their compound was small, but it had order. 1 house for Bashir, 1 for Zahra and their daughter, Amina, 1 for the sons. Mud walls and grass roofs, but inside lived prayer, discipline, and respect. While the children of wealthy families passed by in polished shoes in the cars on their way to elite private schools, Bashir's children walked to public schools. People mocked. What greatness can come from those schools? The rich asked. Zahra only smiled. The child who washes his hands can eat with elders. At night, under lantern light, Zahra patched uniforms again and again. One morning, Ade looked at his torn uniform and whispered that his classmates laughed at him. Zahra placed her hand on his shoulder. The clothes do not make the child. The child makes the clothes. A cracked pot still carries water. Among the wealthy in the village was a proud man named Chief Lawal. He mocked Bashir openly and said palm wine could never raise greatness. But the elders whispered among themselves, the lizard that jumps from a high tree will praise itself if no one else does. When school fees became difficult, voices rose against Amina's education. Why educate a girl, they asked. She will marry. Zahra stood firm. A woman's brain is not smaller because her voice is softer. Educate a woman and you educate a nation. That season, Bashir sold extra palm wine and Amina stayed in school. Then came a year when the palms yielded little. Money dried up. The vehicle stopped coming. Bashir sat quietly, his strength heavy on his shoulders. That night, Zahra gathered the children and they prayed. When the drumbeat changes, the dancer must also change. Days later, a new buyer arrived from a distant city and the business survived. The children performed well in their local schools, and 3 of them, Asong, Ade, and Amina, gained admissions with scholarship to study abroad. Toby completed university in the country and began working as a lawyer, but later relocated to America through the DV lottery program. Years passed quietly. Then one day, news arrived that shook the village. Asong, the palm wine tapper's son, had become a lawyer in the United States. Before the whispers could settle, Aid became a pharmacist in the United States. Soon after, Amina became a neurosurgeon in Canada, and the youngest, Toby, became a director in an engineering company in England. The river that forgets its source will dry up. Letters arrived from faraway lands, speaking of cold winters, lonely nights, and gratitude for lessons learned in a house of mud. The child who is carried on the back does not know how far the journey is. One Harmattan season, cars arrived in the village, foreign plates, quiet power. Where grass roofs once stood, a strong and beautiful mansion now rose. A car was bought for Bashir. Comfort surrounded Zahra, but Bashir smiled most when his children knelt before him. However far the stream flows, it never forgets its source. Bashir handed the palm wine business to a relative. We climbed so others may climb. Now he sits beneath a palm tree, teaching his grandchildren. He no longer climbs the trees, but he still guides. An old man sees farther sitting than a young man standing. Do not mock the small house. It may raise giants. Do not despise humble beginnings. They often carry powerful endings. For the world learned too late that the house of grass raised